god, it's going to be one of these ones. Your girlfriend won't stop texting me, back here with another video. Thank you to everybody who watched my last video on Flash Gordon. It's a great video, go check it out. This week I'm finally going to be finishing off the iconic Dollar Trilogy. Directed by Sergio Leone, this is the last film in the Dollar Trilogy and is arguably the best film. It is the good, the bad, and the motherfucking ugly. This fucking one is the one to watch. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you don't, then I'll kill the family dog. A stash of gold, an unmarked grave, and 3 equally dangerous men all wanting it. After learning of a hidden gold stash, 2 men, Blondie and Tuco, team up to travel across a civil war-torn Southern America, with the wanted violent outlaw Angel Eyes not far behind them, trying to outsmart them and gain the gold for himself. The budget on this film was $1.2 million, doubling the last film in the trilogy for a few dollars more, and nearly tenfold the first film in the trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was an enormous hit critically and commercially, making a whopping $38.9 million at the box office and catapulting Clint Eastwood to new levels of stardom, never moving away from the violence, his close-ups, his long shots that all build the tension we know and love in these movies. Being the third film in this wildly successful trilogy, Leone had to make it bigger and better than ever. With a higher budget, the cast is huge, the action pieces are larger, but he still managed to keep the low and gritty, edgy style that he's known for. The main protagonists of this film are of course played by Clint motherfucking Eastwood as the badass bounty hunter Blondie, aka Good. Lee Van Cleef returns to the trilogy as the nasty outlaw Angel Eyes, aka Bad, which is completely different to his last character in A Few Dollars More, Colonel Douglas Mortimer, who is a reluctantly good guy. And of course Eli Gluck as the horribly criminal Tuco, aka Ugly. Each actor holds his purpose in this movie. I think the performance these actors give is timeless, captivating, and honestly the excellently written script helps develop these characters in ways that films these days just don't. Of course, Ennio Morricone is back, and there is no doubt in my mind that he wasn't going to absolutely smash the soundtrack on this film. The previous 2 soundtracks help piece together the story and style for those films, helping with the emotion in scenes and undeniably just great pieces of music in their own right. This is definitely one of the best soundtracks in the trilogy, and perhaps maybe one of the best in film history. Okay, maybe there's one better. So, getting into the film. So the film opens with the longest opening credit sequence in the trilogy. I do love the title card in this film. I think it's pretty badass, but it just goes on and on and on, as most films in this era did. A couple of men arrive in the town approaching a building. Upon entering, gunshots can be heard and a man jumps from a window. Cue Ugly's intro card. This is Tuco, Ugly, the bad of the bad. He's not the bad because that's the bad. We see all 3 men are dead and Tuco runs away. Angel Eyes, aka Bad, played by Lee Van Cleef, is on a dirty job from a man named Baker to find a man named Jackson. Angel Eyes is interrogating a husband of a Mexican family. The husband lets slip of knowledge of a hidden gold stash. The husband informs Angel Eyes Jackson now goes by the name Bill Carson. The husband tries to bribe Angel Eyes not to kill him and wants him to kill Baker instead, offering him $1,000 to do so. Angel Eyes denies the offer, stating that he always gets the job's done once he's paid. Killing the husband and the eldest son, Angel Eyes returns to his client's Baker, an ill man in bed, and he kills him as the husband paid him $1,000 to do so. Tuco is walking through a field when he's ambushed by a bunch of bounty hunters. Blondie, aka Clint Eastwood, aka Good, shows up out of thin air to claim Tuco as his own. Outgunned, Blondie still effortlessly mows down 3 rival hunters. Fucking legend. Tuco and Blondie have a scheme where Blondie claims the bounty on Tuco, and when he is about to hang, Blondie shoots the rope, claims the reward money, and both of them escape. Rinse and repeat. After Blondie and Tuco split the money, they begin a disagreement about cuts on the job. Tuco wants a bigger cut because it's his neck on the line, but Blondie claims that his aim might get a little worse if his cut goes down. Tuco's being hung yet again in line with their plan, and while they read out all his crimes to the crowd, I noticed there's a lot of rape, like a lot of rape. I know he's meant to be ugly, but like, Jesus Christ. Angel Eyes happens to actually be in this town watching the hanging when a legless war veteran comes up to him and tells Angel Eyes about a convoy that Bill Carson is supposedly on. The vet also tells him that Carson's lover is a woman named Maria, a fresh young whore in the town of Santa Ana. Angel Eyes says an out-of-pocket comment calling the vet a half-soldier. Angel Eyes witnesses Blondie Tuco's scheme from the sideline.
Even a filthy beggar like that has got a protecting angel.
Blondie misses the first shot, leaving Tuco to hang for a bit, marking his dominance. Eventually escaping on horseback, Blondie is convinced Tuco's bounty won't get higher and decides to end the partnership with him there. Blondie leaves Tuco tied up, forcing him to walk through the desert 70 miles to the nearest town. Blondie gets his intro card. Maria is dropped off by a wagon full of men after a disgusting cowboy gangbang, or should I say a reverse cowgirl gangbang. Angel Eyes is waiting for her in her room, surprising and interrogating her about the location of Bill Carson. Angel Eyes slaps Maria about until she tells him that Bill Carson has left for the army and that they're heading for a town called Santa Fe. Tuco makes it back to a town after his long and exhausting journey through the desert after Blondie deserted him. Finding a local gun store, Tuco begins to harass the poor store owner, building and taking his own pistol. Showcasing his skills on the firing range, he proves to be a match for Blondie and Angel Eyes. I love how Tuco's gun holster is just a piece of string around his body, compared to the perfect leather holsters of the other protagonists. Tuco robs the man and leaves. The Confederate army marches into town. Tuco and his men notice Blondie's horse outside a hotel, so they begin interrogating the hotel manager about which room he is in. Tuco's men creep up to the room as cannon fire and marching can be heard covering their sound. Blondie is slowly building his pistol as the tension builds. When they quickly charge into the room, he clears them out, dispatching them quickly, claiming that he heard their spurs. He casually thinks that he has the upper hand on the situation, but Tuco has snuck through the window behind him. Having Blondie at gunpoint, Tuco forces Blondie to put a noose around his neck. As Blondie is about to be hung in this hotel room, a cannonball is fired into the side of the building, creating chaos and a chance for Blondie to escape from Tuco. We are then treated to a tracking sequence where Tuco is hunting Blondie down by following a trail of cigars that Blondie smokes. When he finally finds Blondie, he is continuing their wicked scheme with somebody else. Tuco sneaks up to Blondie and forces him to let his new partner hang. Tuco then makes Blondie walk through the desert for 100 miles as a punishment for making him do so earlier in the movie. After a fucked up journey through the desert, Blondie is dehydrated, sunburnt, and a little messed up. Tuco is about to kill him when a speeding unmanned wagon comes down the path. Gaining Tuco's attention, he manages to stop it. Checking out the back, it is filled with injured or dead Civil War soldiers. Bill Carson is among them, and he begins to tell Tuco of the location of the hidden gold, but he needs water, so Tuco goes and gets Bill some. But Blondie sneaks over and learns the second part of the secret and what grave it is buried in. Tuco is furious. Realizing that Blondie now knows the secret, he must keep him alive, which is going to prove harder than he thought after he just made him walk 100 miles through the desert. Bill Carson dies in front of them. Tuco takes Blondie to a church run by his priest brother, Father Ramirez, in hopes of bringing Blondie back to his perfect health so the pair can hunt down the gold together. Tuco and his brother Pablo get into a huge argument about who loved their parents more and how they chose different lives. Blondie hears this entire conversation, but still Tuco lies about how his brother wanted them to stay longer and how he loves him, but me, you and Blondie know that all ain't true. Blondie offers him a cigar because he feels bad about the situation. Blondie does this to quite a few characters throughout the whole film. While the pair are traveling through the desert, they are caught by the Union Army and brought to a POW camp. While they are doing the roll call, Tuco says that he is Bill Carson, raising the attention of a familiar face, Angel Eyes, who has somehow infiltrated the army and become a guard at their POW camp. Angel Eyes invites Tuco into his cabin and the two go way back, so Tuco is relieved that Angel Eyes is there and he chows into a meal with him. Very quickly, the reunion turns sour when Angel Eyes wants to know why Tuco is going by the name of Bill Carson. There is this beautiful scene where the Confederate soldiers play their instruments to cover the sound of Tuco being beaten, a regular occurrence for these prisoners. This film has a huge anti-war message hidden beneath all the awesome violence. Tuco gives up his side of the secret, stating that the gold is in Sad Hill Cemetery and that Blondie is the only one who knows which grave it is in. Blondie is of course brought into the cabin with Angel Eyes when Angel Eyes offers him a partnership as he now knows the location of the gold. Blondie accepts without hesitation and the two leave the camp. Tuco is taken via train to be hanged for his crimes. However, on the train journey, Tuco manages to drag himself off the train, taking the guard and beating him with a rock. Realizing he can't get the handcuffs off himself or the guard, he places the guard's body on the train tracks in hopes that the train will run over the handcuffs and free him harm-free. Surprisingly successfully doing so, Tuco makes an escape on the back of the train. Blondie, Angel Eyes and some gang members wander into a war-torn town. Somehow Tuco is in town and finds an unsupervised bathtub. A man notices Tuco enter the building and follows him inside. Sneaking up on Tuco while he's in a bubbly bath, the man begins a revenge-fueled speech about losing his arm to Tuco. Tuco shoots with his bubble-covered pistol before the man can finish.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
I love the set of this war-torn 1800s town. It's brilliant with so much destructive detail and interesting character within it. Blondie is hanging out with Angel Eyes and his men when he decides to go check out some gunfire. Blondie sneaks up on one of the gang members and decides to shoot him dead in cold blood. Tuco is playing with bubbles in his bath when Blondie takes him by surprise and offers him a partnership against Angel Eyes and his 5 men. Tuco stands in the middle of the street to try and challenge some of Angel Eyes' men when he is spooked by Blondie standing in a nearby fucked up house. Blondie says one of the most badass lines,
"Were you gonna die alone?"
and joins his partner as they wander down the street, effortlessly taking out the gang. While doing this, a cannonball lands in the street, filling the street with smoke. I love this moment because Blondie and Tuco sneak off while the smoke clears and they surprise their targets, finally making their way to Angel Eye's location. He has left a letter for them.
See you soon.
Idiots. It's for you.
On their way to Sad Hill, they are captured yet again by the army and sent to the front lines. Here they meet a drunk as fuck captain and they say they want to enlist to avoid trouble. Upon learning of a situation involving the bridge that they have to cross, every day there is a slaughter over this bridge and the captain dreams of blowing it up but isn't allowed as it's a crime. After witnessing the daily massacre for themselves, Blondie and Tuco decide to take matters in their own hands and end the battle once and for all by sneaking down during the ceasefire and blowing up the bridge for themselves, making a clear path for them to continue their journey. This sequence is incredible. Hundreds of extras, trenches, cannons, and plenty of explosions. It's all-out warfare which we hadn't seen before in a spaghetti western. While wiring up the bridge, Tuco is desperately trying to convince Blondie into giving up his part of the secret. So much so that he ends up giving up his part. But Blondie is smarter than this, and tells him the name Arch Stanton. The two frantically run away from the wired up bridge, and honestly this is where you can see the budget has increased. The explosion is fucking huge, and is arguably one of the most impressive shots of the entire movie. They take cover and patiently wait for the armies to move out to a new battleground. Casually swimming across the river, the two find a burnt out church and an injured soldier within it. Blondie gives him his coat and a toke on his cigar, also finding his legendary poncho inside. Which is why many believe this is a prequel to the 2 other movies in the trilogy, even though that's not a hard and fast rule. Clint is the all-American hero, helping out Americans on both sides of the war. He doesn't care as long as you're red-blooded American. Tuco tries to ditch Blondie by stealing his horse outside the church, but Blondie uses a cannon and his cigar to blow him off his horse. Panicking after being thrown off his horse, Tuco manages to finally make it to the enormous Sad Hill Cemetery. Begins frantically running around the entire place desperately to find the grave with Arch Stanton on it. And honestly, this sequence does go on for a while, like a really while, and I understand that they wanted to show how desperate Tuco was and how big this place is, but Jesus Christ, the camera is just spinning for like minutes. I say it's kind of long, but I also kind of love it, and no other film like nowadays would ever dare do something like this, and I think that's quite fun. I think it's having that patience, you just get that payoff a little bit more. Tuco finds Arch Stanton's grave finally and begins digging, before Blondie arrives and makes him dig with a shovel. Angel Eyes sneaks up on Tuco and Blondie, and having them at gunpoint, he tries to make Blondie dig as well. Blondie refuses, playing it cool, even after Tuco opens the coffin only to discover the remains of Arch Stanton and no gold. Blondie then writes the name of the grave on a rock and challenges Tuco and Angel Eyes to a 3-way standoff. We are treated to extreme close-ups of faces, guns and twitching fingers, long drawn-out long shots with incredibly emotional music put behind it. Again, this scene is slow, but Sergio Leone understands building tension means a bigger payoff for the audience. So, as the music swells, Blondie shoots Angel Eyes. Tuco's gun doesn't shoot because Blondie took out the bullets the night before. He has outsmarted everyone, finishing off Angel Eyes, putting him in a grave of his own, leaving Tuco with a noose around his neck. Blondie leaves him half of the money but with a noose around his neck, leaving him in his own fate. Blondie has real Jigsaw vibes about him here. Tuco wildly calls out Blondie's name as he rides off into the sunset, disappearing beyond the horizon. Blondie then returns and shoots Tuco down from his noose, saving him in the end. That is the motherfucking end of the film. please go watch this film. It is genuinely one of the best westerns that I have ever seen. I had such a good fun with it. I always put it on. It's good laugh. It's a long one, but you'll have a good time with it. So thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, please check out the other videos on this channel. Please tell everyone about it. Please subscribe, like, comment, do everything you can. Thank you, San Diego. Stay classy.